I love what you're saying. One thing, I just spoke to my consultant and we were talking about how up leveling is not just about, it's not about wider, because I had like at one point 8, 9 therapists, like a big team. And I always said, I'm like, I don't want to go wider, I want to go deeper. To me, it's like, I want to buy back time. How can I make bigger impact, really grow my revenue, grow my investments, but also like make more impact, but buy back time.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Your Business, Your Next Level. I'm your host, Eunicia Peret, and today I have Esther Goldstein in the studio with me. She is a trauma therapist, educator, and author, as well as a group practice owner and mom. She's very passionate about making an impact and scaling heart-focused businesses while being present for all of the families that she supports, because that is important. And I can't think of what would be more important, Esther, although what I can tell you is that not all therapists, at least not the folks that I've been talking to, not all of them are there where the focus is all about the families that they serve. And that sits very near and dear to my heart. So welcome to the show.
I'm so glad to be on here. One of the reasons why I responded, and I'll tell you a bit about myself, was because I feel like there's not enough conversations about money health. And I know that you guys are actually really focused on like healthy investment and the overlap between family. And I feel like as a therapist, and I'll talk about it in a minute, we often talk about emotional issues, but we don't talk about these other elements at play, which are in the background, but just as powerful, which is our relationship to money, the way that we relate to, take care of our numbers, and feel very checked in. And we know that as human beings, the more aware and supported and strategic we are in every part of our life, physical, emotional, financial, spiritual, the healthier we are. And so I love that this was your company, who you are, what you stand for, reached out so we can have a conversation. My name is Esther. I think one of my biggest missions always was to spread healing for people. Being a therapist, I look at what are the underpinnings beneath people's anxiety, depression, trauma. And so over the years, I've done a lot of training, built a practice, not just to help clients, although that's one of the pieces. I have a number of trainings under my belt, but also really supporting the therapists to be well supported, because we know that when we are in an infrastructure of support and guidance and clarity, our clients do better work and we create healthier societies and make more impact. So that's me. I live in New York. I finished my book and I'm just glad to have, and I train as well. I have a training that trains therapists globally in deepening their trauma-informed skills. And I have another smaller program right now, which is just for published authors who are looking to scale their impact as therapists and buy back some of their time in a program that I run. Yeah.
That is amazing. You know, I love what you said about the fact that you focus on the physical, the emotional, the financial aspect of what people have gone through and the traumas that they've been. And we know, working with clients day in and day out, that the traumas that they've experienced as in their younger years, as well as even in adulthood, ends up carrying through. And of course, we're seeing it on the financial side because people are stuck. And oftentimes that stuck comes, Esther, in what we see from people not having an ability to say, yes, they know that they need to do something. They know that they have outgrown their team. They know that they need additional support because they're seeing the money bleeding out, not because it's bleeding out. However, it's bleeding out to fees, to over tax payments, to whatever it is where it's bleeding out. And they have this inability to move. It's like, hey, if you just did A, B, and C, you might be able to, let's say 30 to 50% more year over year. What would that mean to people's bottom line? And even still, it's like giving them a gold bar and they're looking at it like, is this fake? It's like, no, it's really a gold bar. And because of the programming that they've had in the past, they can't make a move. So let's talk a little bit about trauma and the impact, since you love that. You love the idea of how do we bring the financial conversations into the mix. I love that as well. Obviously, how does trauma impact people and their ability to truly have fulfillment when it comes to the financial side?
I think you mentioned something that's really powerful, which is basically the concept of fear, where they get frozen, like survival strategies. When we go through stress or we go through experiences, either like a single incident experience of either being betrayed or someone was abused or manipulated or violated, or like multiple experiences of being ignored or disrespected or living in survival, what happens is the person goes into one of the different forms of survival, which is either fight, so they're constantly in attack, flight, which is like they run away or they disconnect, and freeze is where they just kind of shut down, which is kind of what you're talking about. And usually it's because they don't feel safe. And so we think about finances, if you think about any part of people's health, right? People want to improve their love life, their financial life, their parenting, their work life. one of the pieces I always look at is how do we reinstate a sense of trust and safety? And so when you talk about people who like you're offering them a solution, and like you say, you're like, it's a gold bar. But really what we need is two things. The person is often tracking for one, why should I trust you, the person, that it's going to be different than the person I'm working with, right? And two, I need to trust myself because trauma can leave people or ongoing constant stress can leave a person not trusting themselves. And I think part of us coming to people and providing something different, we want to be holding both of these things in mind, or anyone listening. It's so amazing that you as the potential consumer or whoever it is, you're thinking, wait, I'm listening in for, is this person or a provider someone who I could build trust with, right? And we'll talk about what builds trust, right? How do we really build trust? And they should take their time building trust. And I love that me and you are having this conversation because essentially we're giving them one of the data points that they could listen to and track for, has this person slowly earned my trust so I could even converse with them or see if they can actually really give me what I need. And two is developing, like being able to start setting some small milestones where they could regain autonomy and self-trust with themselves. So that could be in terms of like when you do hire the right person or when you do interview or when you do set certain boundaries or you do challenge something with the right support. And it actually gives you a positive feedback loop and it moves you towards better life, better whatever it is. You rebuild trust in yourself. And so really we want to just build people, like we really just want to build people up and having better and richer lives. And then it's a matter of really supporting them in the process before they even make choices. So they have more self-trust and they have a richer life in that experience, right? Because when we work with, even with therapy, I don't work with a client once the therapy doesn't start once they're in my practice. The therapist I support doesn't just start when they're working with me. It starts from the first time they're watching me, they hear a conversation, they're curious. All those other data points are either allowing them to feel more trusting, more at ease, or less at ease. So that's my job and their job also to track for themselves. And then there's obviously this experience. And even in this experience, we're consistently developing relationships and nurturing and giving them what their needs are. I don't know if that
100%. No, I love what you said because one of the things that we're seeing, and I'd be willing to bet that it's very similar in the therapy world as well, is people, especially when it comes to money, they've been burnt. This is especially true for physicians. And so when they come to us, they have their guards are all the way up. And I tell them from the very beginning, I don't need you to trust me. As a matter of fact, I'm telling you, please do not trust me. Because while I wear my heart on my sleeves, the idea isn't about me. The idea is about, is the solution the right solution for them? And is whatever is being proposed to them, can you back it up? And how can you back it up? Whether it's finances, I tell them in finance, the numbers speak. In trauma, in dealing with therapists. Listen, I've come across my fair share of one therapist that I ran across. I came home and I told my husband, I said, if kids are exposed to people in therapy like this individual, well, no wonder that our young generation is screwed up.
Oh, that was a bad experience.
Because it was like, it's just the ideas and the concepts and the inhibiting of the young children that I experienced through that person. I thought to myself, wow, well, if you're inhibiting a 17-year-old's ability to flourish and grow and experience what life is, no wonder that they're finding hideaways and things to do behind your back because you're constantly putting them down. They're no longer kids. And so anyway, I could get on my soapbox about therapy.
Have you ever had good experience with a therapist?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I've had amazing experiences with therapists, and especially what I've seen in therapy, and we can go wherever you want to take this from that standpoint, is with individuals that speak about the trauma, but 2 years later, we're not still talking about the same thing. We know now that there are strategies where you can blast through that trauma to where, yes, you're constantly going to be going after things that might still be there. However, it shouldn't take 2 years to get through to a problem. There are certain strategies that can be applied that will blast through that trauma in as little as 12 to maybe 20 hours of, we'll call it therapy. It could sit under a lot of different names. We won't go there necessarily. However, a lot of people don't know that's a thing. And so they'll see a therapist, they'll be like, 2-3 years later, I'm seeing marginal, they're seeing marginal results, when it's like, well, if you worked with the right therapist, with the right individuals who focus on themselves, who focus on going deep on what are the strategies that maybe are less conventional but can get to the root of the problem, now you've got the person a brand new self 2, 3, 4 months later. And how beautiful is that? So yes, anything that you have on that side, I welcome your input.
I mean, I love what you're sharing because essentially I could just share as a human being, like as a professional therapist and as like a business owner and as a mom. I feel like the most important thing for us when we look at quality of life and health and wellness is knowledge is power. So having access to the right knowledge. 2 is who are we investing in? Like I've invested in like getting good financial advice, investing in my postgraduate trainings. People say to me, oh, how did you become so successful? I'm like, first of all, a lot of this is like, I put a lot of I pray a lot. I think there's a big spiritual piece, but I also think that we are co-creators. And I think that there's something about like, I have consistently still do invest in brilliant mentors in areas that I am not as wise as they are. And I think that the smartest thing that people could do in terms of like therapy, in terms of business mentorship, in terms of financial health, in terms of parenting is consult with people who are like your shining star. Like I literally right now have people I consult with in arenas that are literally guiding me. So people say, oh, how did you get there? I'm like, do you know who I invested and pay on a monthly basis? And you know what the return on investment either is in financially or is in my mental health or is in my parenting or is in like we need people. So this conversation I think is also like educating people to make educated decisions and informed decisions of investing in the right people and trusting enough in yourself to do that. And I think also trusting that if you make a mistake or because I've made some mistakes, I think it's just part of learning because life is not a matter of not failing. It's about continuing to move through and course correct. I think the piece that you're talking about is when people go through, I think trauma with finances or just have difficult experiences. I think the hardest thing for people to imagine or believe is that things could get so much darn better. And I think that one of the things that I love giving people to be able to dream about is how good can it get? It's gotten really bad. It's gotten horrible. It's gotten worse than you thought it could be. And so we're going to help you look at the tough stuff. I'm not afraid of going deep. I'm all about, Greg, you spoke about unconditional. It's really unconventional therapies. I think it is about being able to have those hard conversations, just like you do in the finances. And at the same token, it's almost like this pendulum. It's like, we're going to talk about the hard stuff. We're also going to talk about how darn good it could get in terms of your health and your wellness and your finances. Like, let's break through some barriers because you deserve that. And just because you have unconscious beliefs of maybe how you manage money or how you navigate in relationships, like you get to choose to make a shift. So a lot of it is mindset work. And I think that giving people access to different choice points and helping them build trust in the potential providers also helps them realize that you can actually do this. It's just a matter of being informed and being able to take that leap or trust that you can do this for yourself.
100%. And I love the fact that you talked about the unconscious mind and all of the things that are hidden in there. One of the things that I'd love to chat with you about, Esther, and get your thoughts on as a therapist is the cost of some of the stress and what that's doing for people. Because you just mentioned, and it's beautiful. I always love it when our guests talk about the co-creators and the coaches and the mentors that they're paying for. I'm a strong believer. Listen, I grew up in strategy consulting for 12 years of my life. It was the we, and I got access to the best of the best mentors, and I've had some unbelievable people around me. And when I left the corporate world, I did not know that as an entrepreneur, you have to pay to play. But I very quickly found that out. And the moment I found it out, it felt very uncomfortable. Like, oh my gosh, I have to pay to get feedback. I have all these mentors that historically have poured into me. And what I found is that the more you spend strategically, right? We're not just throwing money out the window, but the more you spend strategically, there's a huge return. You and I talked just before we hit play or we hit record about the call that I had just gotten off of. Listen, that individual that I was sharing with you about has been working with a financial advisor for over 25 years. In 25 years, he's asking questions that are rudimentary, that when it comes to our clients and when we look at how our team manages their portfolios, those are questions that they don't even have to be questions. They're table stakes. They are table stakes. And it pains me when people are all about, well, but it's free. No, nothing in life is free. Would you much rather get free advice, knowing that down the road, when you look back in the next 10 years or 20 years, it would have cost you $500,000 or $1 million or several $100,000s? Would that feel better just because it was free? And when we shift the dynamic, people go, oh, well, I never thought about it that way. Well, they didn't because maybe it wasn't presented. Maybe that wasn't an option. That's where I feel people need the support. They need individuals in their corner that will speak the unbiased truth. What's the right thing for the client? And that's our philosophy is that as long as we can shed light in an unbiased way for our clients, at the end of the day, it's about their bottom line. Everything else comes along. And I'd love to hear from your standpoint, from a trauma standpoint, what is the true cost of some of the stress, some of the unconscious decisions that people make because of their trauma, and how powerful would it be if they were able to say, you know what, minimize the stress, be able to say yes for themselves, be willing to invest in the type of consultants, coaches, mentors, whatever it is that they need at the moment in time. What kind of a value could they get on the back end?
I love what you're talking about. It's like that, the cost of missed opportunity, right? People don't know. Like people talk about in different family structures or societies or communities. It's like, I don't have access, or I didn't know about this opportunity. And then it's like, okay, so we're actually going to educate you. And I want you to make an informed decision. I love how you spoke about like pay to play. I think it's so powerful that you're saying that, because I find that I'm going to answer the question about trauma and about anxiety and about people's fears around like investing or bringing the right people into their money, their lives, their hearts. I think what people don't always realize is that, yeah, you're going to stay stuck for where you are. Like sometimes we're working at a place of like right here, right? Like you're talking about like stress. Okay, to answer your question, if somebody is in a place where they know that they could be monetizing more, where their money could be growing more, where they could be making better decisions about where their wealth goes to with their family, or they could be making a better business decision, right? Investing in their business in terms of a training. I see this with my course. People invest in my trauma training automatically, or my business training automatically. Over time, their confidence, their results get better. You talk about results, they could charge higher fees, and automatically their business is healthier. They have better time boundaries, and they're so much more present for their families and their clients, and they're getting better results. But it did take an investment, right? I'm going to bet on myself. They're not betting on me. They're betting on themselves, that they're trusting they're making a good choice and they're going to do the hard work with me. Same with your clients. Like you're betting on yourself for something better for yourself, for your clients, right? Or your family. I see the transformation. It is so clear to me. So I think that the piece over here, the people who are unsure always say like, where you're at right now is status quo. So the good thing about staying status quo is you know that you're not taking a risk and it won't get worse. But the danger of status quo is always, like I always say, what's the cost of inaction? If you don't take an action right now, where are you going to be in a month, a year, or 2 years, 3 years, 5 years? And that cost of inaction is the cost of missed opportunity. I was just talking to someone who I invested in business consultancy 10 years ago. 3 years in, I got the book off, or whatever it was. I got a book offer, I got paid published engagement, speaking engagements. You invest, you said pay to play. Like there is no question in my mind when you invest with the right people, like you said, be strategic. It opens doors and you're never even going to be able to open those doors. It collapses timelines. When you invest with, like you're saying, good financial advice, they ask you questions about things that you just won't on your own. So back to the stress thing, the way I look at it is like, if you want to, okay, so here's the not doing anything. So, and you're stressed, right? There's something that doesn't feel so good or you're not sure if it's going to be good. So always say, making a decision or taking a leap is going to cause you a little bit of discomfort, okay? That's going to be a little bit of stress. But the goal of this discomfort is so that you get a much calmer, much more expansive life. So could you tolerate the discomfort? It's like moving a house, right? Moving a house. It's really uncomfortable to move. If you're moving into a bigger house, so the kids can be in the playroom and you can host more people and you have more events and you have more socialization and you're calmer and you have a sauna, of course it's worth it. So I think what happens is when people can see the bigger picture, which is why I always tell people collage and where you want to be in 6 months, collage and where you want to be in a year. If you can tolerate the discomfort of here is where I just started, but I'm collapsing timelines, I'm opening up possibility, the stress levels that I've seen in people has gone down so much when they invest in the right financial planners. Just spoke to my clients because a lot of them are entrepreneurs, very successful. A lot of them need therapy. A lot of them are investing either in like some programs. And a lot of them need really good business advice or financial advice. I'm like, invest in it because it's going to give you back or your husband back nights where he could sleep. You're going to have more belly laughter. So back to what you're saying, I think you want to look at long-term, healthier, like their immune system, be able to have better quality of life. It comes from people who are smart, want to be in the rooms, be in the right rooms, be connected to people who we say run with the big wolves, because who you surround yourself with and the meetings you have on a weekly, monthly, or quarterly basis will directly impact your mental health, the relationships you have, and where you're going to model for yourself and your children.
Oh my gosh. We talk about this all the time because clients oftentimes will say, well, how do you have access to all of these unbelievable strategies, whether it be on the tax planning side or tax strategy side, whether it be on the investment side, whether it be on the exit strategy side? How do you have access to these things? It's like, listen, exactly what you said. We hang around and we are in rooms where the discussion in front of the curtain is one and behind the curtain is a totally different one. So which type of discussion discussion would you want? Well, behind the curtain. Well, most individuals out there are they're hearing the stuff that's in front of the curtain.
Yeah.
The behind the curtain is very curated, primarily reserved for the ultra wealthy. And people go, when I say ultra wealthy, immediately what I hear from people is, well, I'm not ultra wealthy. No, you're not. And at the same time, you've grown the traditional advice, whether it be financial, whether it be therapist, whether it be like when you have that feeling of, you need to scale, you need to scale. And when that feeling comes, I tell individuals all the time, when that feeling comes, you've officially, in our world, you've officially outgrown your financial team, your CPA, your financial advisor. It doesn't mean that they're not good people. It just means you need to bolster that team with additional knowledge that's being discussed behind the curtain. And you articulated that so beautifully in what you said a second ago.
I love what you're saying. One thing, I just spoke to my consultant and we were talking about how up leveling is not just about, it's not about wider, because I had like at 1.8, 9 therapists, like a big team. And I always said, I'm like, I don't want to go wider, I want to go deeper. To me, it's like, I want to buy back time. How can I make bigger impact, really grow my revenue, grow my investments, but also like make more impact, but buy back time. And so I love what you're just saying right now, because I think that there's something about, we were talking about like, what does a high performing team need? How can you be the best leader? And it's not just those, right, the skills from behind the curtain. It's, are you investing to be in the rooms behind the curtain? And so it's very exclusive. And maybe you're not yet very wealthy, but right, will you be there? How can you, people who become like positions of leadership, get opportunity, are peaceful and calm with their finances. They didn't just land there. They've been doing this strategy. They get good consult, and that's why their nervous systems are calm. That's why they lead their families better. Like, I love how you're speaking to it, because it's people are always baffled. And it's like, I feel like this conversation is giving some input to, don't be so confused. Here's some of the data of what goes on behind closed doors and why there's a difference between, where some people are now and where some people are now, and why some of them are going to be in one place in 10 years and why some people will still be in this place, right? It's all about those
100%. Perfect example. And what I'd like to say to what you just said is, you mentioned this earlier, to two things. Number one, when somebody has, and this was brought to my attention years back by one of my friends, we were needing to make a decision, executive decision on bringing on a new team member. And it was very strategic. And, there's always that little butterfly thing in your stomach. And I was like, I don't know, I'm kind of afraid. And she said, let me ask you this. Is it fear because you're feeling it in your gut that it's a bad decision? Or is it the unawareness of the unknown, knowing that you need this team member? It's the same thing when somebody makes a decision to hire a team of experts or a strategic consultant. Is it that knowledge of that flight where your entire human being is telling you this is bad, run? Or is it I need to make the decision, but you have that it's hard to make the decision. So that's something that's stuck with me. And every time I need to make a decision, I always put it through that funnel. I found it to be very, very insightful. And then the other thing that you were talking about, just in terms of who individuals partner with and how do they go about saying the yes, it goes right back to people being afraid of making that investment in themselves. Yes, it costs a lot of money. And you have to look at, for example, for us, we tell people, listen, if we can't show you how you can at least 3 times your investment with us demonstrated in the first year of working together, we work for you for free. And people go, well, that's too good to be true. It's like, no, actually, the reason we put it's actually a very low number, because when we look at what we actually do for our clients, the return is over here. We can't promise anything to anyone, but because people have been so conditioned to just, what are they going to get? They're afraid of sometimes taking a chance to say, it feels right. Let's get it done. Figure out what next looks like, so that they have the opportunity to be behind the curtain and in those special rooms.
Yeah, I love that.
Let's shift gears. This has gone by very quickly, Esther. We've had an amazing conversation. One of the questions that I love to ask of our guests is the idea of trauma, or maybe better put, things that might have happened in the past, failures, regrets. What we find is that with just about every major failure, there's generally a big aha, and there's so much to learn from those. Give us an example of a big regret or a perceived failure that might have happened or you might have experienced, and what was the big aha that you learned on the back end?
I think I have a very positive outlook. Sometimes it could be naive. It works well in the sense of I believe in people's capacity to heal. I'll take any business owner or therapist and be like, here's how you could make incredible impact, heal this many people in your community, make worldwide impact, get your book out there, write your course, help your clients work through all this trauma, the complex trauma piece. And I love that. And I will always be like, I'm really hopeful. I'm really energetic, and I'll take on things that other people won't or get scared away from. I just hire the right people to support me in it. But I will say that as a business owner, there were some people who I hired not thinking strategically of like, do they have the right kind of, they're all wonderful people. But I think I hired some people who needed me to almost be more of a mentor than an employee. And I feel like one of the hard but really powerful lessons that I have learned is I could be a really nice person. I can be really generous, which I am, but I need to be so intentional about who I bring in and what I invest in and how to make sure that my energy, my time, everything is so clear. Like I charge a lot for certain services and I volunteer and I give so much back to my community out of the generosity of my heart and without charging for certain things because I want to be that person. But I needed to create separate entities. So in my business, I hired some people many years ago that really needed more like coaching and mentorship. And we're in the best fit to be an employee. And what I've learned over the years is, and it wasn't good for me and it wasn't either good for them because people want to feel successful. And what I've learned is like when I, interview people, even when I hire people, right? I've learned to be much more discerning on like, who's the best fit for where I already am. And there's a certain caliber that they're going to blow it out of the park in terms of how good they feel. And I'm going to be the best mentor and best employer for them. And other people, like, that's not worth my time and it's not a good fit and they should work somewhere else. And I think it's the same with like consultants, right? Like if you're looking at a business consultant or you're looking at a financial consultant, I think it's really being discerning and knowing where you are and choosing only for people at your level. It's not that you're better or worse. It's the same thing. If I hired somebody who is working with businesses at a very different arena, they wouldn't either be a good fit. So it's really being honest. So it was a painful lesson for me. It was very humbling, I would say. I was very transparent. Like I learned so much. I'm always very grateful for people's growth and learning. And I think it's helped me so much because my team and my business and my life is just cleaner because of it. Like I'm like, okay, painful lesson. What did I learn? How do I not make the same mistake again? Being so much more intentional. And I think with money, probably it's the same way. Like, how do you have good boundaries? How are you clear about these invisible aspects that you need to learn?
No, I love what you said. And thank you for being vulnerable. I think we've all been there, especially if you have a big heart. I can tell you I've been there. And it was actually, hiring individuals that needed me more as a mentor than perhaps we needed them as employees and hard workers and, put your heart where your mouth is kind of a thing because of traumas and because of the baggage that they brought, which sometimes it's visible and sometimes it's not. It took actually our coaches and our consultants, those people that I was paying to give me guidance to say, what in the world are you thinking? It's not like, yes, we appreciate the fact that you're a giver. We appreciate the fact that you want to help people, but this is not a charity. This is about you're delivering huge value. You need the right people. And you were mentioning even about, individuals choosing who they work with as professionals. I go back right to the discussion that you and I talked about previously. It's if you are working with the team where it doesn't matter if it's the CPA, the financial advisor, whomever, if you're constantly the one or therapist, if you're constantly the one going with brand new, fresh ideas to say, hey, what about this? And hey, what about that? It's a problem. Listen, it's not that, just like you said, it's not that they're not unbelievable human beings. You've outgrown the level of expertise that they can provide you. And if you want them still in your corner, they can be there. Doesn't mean that they have to go anywhere. You just need to bolster their knowledge have a third party, somebody that can challenge the status quo. And you will know very quickly, are they still in the right seats on the bus, or do they need to move seats or possibly get off the bus altogether? Because that's the reality of life and business. What a beautiful conversation. Esther, I know you're obviously very intuitive. As you're thinking about the entrepreneurs and the business owners and the amazing folks that are listening, the person that's listening to this podcast, to this interview, what is one thing that sits top of mind for you where you're like, if I could leave this morsel of knowledge, it would take them far if they were to listen? And please listen.
I think like you're worthy of investing in yourself. Like, please go from a place of self-worth. Like, you clearly built a business and you're clearly driven. You are worthy of making like your love relationships, your family relationships, and your money work really well for you. Like, the world has so much abundance. Take the steps because you're worth it. Yeah. Lean into the goodness that the universe has to offer. Life is also about goodness and joy. And you can give back even more when you're in that abundant place. So yeah.
Yes, acting from abundance. What you said is so beautiful, Esther. Act upon it because you're worth it.
Yeah.
And Esther said something, you said something so beautiful, Esther, about family, your personal health, your mental health, physical, mental health, financial health. The reality is, if you're listening and you're wondering, where are you maybe missing the bar? The people that are super successful, take wealth aside, they're just super successful. They've built something magical and amazing for themselves. Those are the same individuals that typically, here's a little bit of an insight, typically they have a personal communications coach. They have a relationship coach. They certainly have a financial coach or multiple people on their team. They certainly have a therapist, somebody that can help them get through all of the things, all the unconscious things that Esther, you were talking about. That's why they're able to find that success. Because when you have individuals that can talk to the challenges that you're facing in just about every aspect of your life, your breakthroughs are not just like this. They're absolutely, they're the hockey stick. Yes. I love how we both did the hockey stick idea. It's real. So take a chance of yourself, act and meet life from a place of abundance, not of scarcity, and truly magical and beautiful things happen when you do that. Esther, this has been such a joy and pleasure to have you on the show here with us. And as you're listening, we do want to hear your feedback. Go in, rate this episode, rate the show. Let us know what was the one thing that you took away from here based on the value, all of the amazing value that Esther was able to deliver and bring to our discussion today. And until next time, stay tuned for your next episode of Your Business, Your Next Level.
Thank you for joining us on Your Business, Your Next Level podcast, where it is all about helping you make more, keep more, and elevating your business to the next level. To learn more, make sure you head over to www.podcast.extelstra.com and don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review the show. Again, that's podcast.extelstra.com. Until next time, thanks for listening.